Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on the best ways to start shifting left. Now, this is a re-record due to technology issues that we had yesterday. We do apologise for that again. So we won't be able to answer any questions during this re-record, but please feel free to email us on the email addresses provided at the end of the presentation. We would love to hear from you. Now, we did receive a few questions yesterday from the initial attempt at the webinar that we will answer at the end of this. So please do stick with us for answers to those. I'm now going to hand things over to Amy, and she's going to do the formal introductions.
Great, thank you, Sam. So over the next half an hour, we're going to give you a brief introduction to shift left and the benefits that can be seen, or perhaps that we've seen from implementing this process. We're then going to spend some time looking at whether you are ready to shift left and how you can start looking to do so. As well as this, we want to show you some of the newer features in TOPdesk that have been introduced to help bring shift left into your organizations. We are aware that a lot of you are familiar with shift left, as it's been a main theme in the industry for a while now, and we do mention it quite a lot in webinars, so I'm going to try and keep my introduction a little bit shorter. So as you can see on the slide, shift left is about empowering support staff to resolve their own problems by bringing the solutions you're providing closer to the customer. The aim is to eliminate the need for support staff to find answers to the calls that the colleagues have already dealt with before. Not only is this to help current customers, but once the process is implemented, it should streamline the experience for customers down the line, as well as helping to future-proof the loss of knowledge that's often felt when the more experienced and knowledgeable staff do inevitably leave an organisation. Generally in our role, Sam and I come across companies who are answering calls via the phone or perhaps email, which is absolutely fine and can produce high levels of customer satisfaction. But realistically, this can only get you so far. If you think about it, you're only sharing knowledge with one person at a time and only for that one period in time. So shift left can help you become more scalable as a department. Key part of thinking about shifting left is being in a comfortable position to implement this within the team for it to be an easy transition and therefore a success. So with this in mind, Sam, how would you say a company can start looking at whether they're ready to shift left or not?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Amy, for recapping shift left. I think the first thing that you need to really ask yourself is to shift or not to shift. So if you haven't already taken steps to shifting left, how can you actually decide whether or not it's the right time for you and your organisation to do so? Well, there are three things that we would recommend that you consider before you begin the adoption of shift left, and these are the time it will take, the capacity, the resources that you'll need, and also the knowledge that will be required to make the shift. So time. Now this can be a huge project, so think about if you do realistically have the time to take it on. And if you're going to adopt shift left, it really must be done properly, which is why we've written no half measures. It's going to take time out of not only your day, but also your service desk staff's day initially too, as they have to learn a new way of working. Capacity. So do you actually have the resources around you to begin shifting? Your service desk teams will need to be fully on board and understand the concept of shift left too. So one thing you could do is think about advertising to them how this will make their lives easier in the long run. And finally, and really importantly, knowledge. So do you have a knowledge base set up at all? And where are you storing your knowledge now? Have you thought about how the information in the knowledge base is organized and how you categorize it? And is it actually all up to date? So importantly, knowledge must be kept up to date for this to work, even if it's only something like a small software update that's released to a select group of users across your business. So in order to get the ball rolling, we suggest that you have a shift left champion for the concept. So this is someone that would introduce shift left across your whole business and would act as an ambassador and a mentor for the whole project. So are you convinced about shift left or are you not? Well, statistics have shown that by implementing a shift left approach, service desks have seen a 50% increase in first-time right resolutions, 60% shorter lead times, and even a 20 to 40% improvement in employee satisfaction. And if you do want to check out any more about this, then please do visit the reference that we've put at the bottom right hand corner of the screen. But beside these statistics, there are actually other benefits we've noticed which are more of a qualitative nature. So Amy, over to you.
Yeah, so as you mentioned there, there's often a 20 to 40% increase in employee satisfaction, which is generally a result of employees being able to spend more time on the tasks that they enjoy the most, which, let's face it, is generally the reason why they choose to do their jobs in the first place. As well as happier employees, customers have reported that they have higher levels of customer satisfaction based on how their calls are being handled. This has been explained as being seen through the consistency of the answers provided by the team in the responses given, rather than the varying levels of effort often received from a less structured department. As well as this, shift left is shown to have a direct reduction in support costs, which, as you can imagine, leads to happier management.
And happier management is obviously always a good thing. We have also noticed that implementing a shift left approach will create stronger relationships between you, the IT team, and the other departments in your business. And that's because the image of the department will improve due to an increase in your credibility, and this will lead to increased customer satisfaction as well. And finally, the success of a shift left approach is dependent upon having that clear and up-to-date IT knowledge, which you can then share across the whole of your business, which could then mean that your end users might be able to resolve their own issues too, if the knowledge that you publish to them is logical and it's in-depth. So these benefits sound great in theory, but how would you start putting them into practice?
Well, we've had a look at this and feel that before you take steps to shifting left, it starts with two core areas, and these are the people and the knowledge base. Sam mentioned that to help drive the success of shift left, it's useful to have an ambassador or a champion to guide the process. But initially, there wouldn't be much point in having this person if you didn't have the staff behind you, so it's important then to gather the troops. Try and involve all of the relevant staff. It might help to have weekly feedback sessions initially to gain insights into how everyone is finding the change. People are more invested into a change if they feel part of the project to begin with, and more importantly, that their voice is being heard. As well as this, it's to ensure a good start to implementing shift left. It's essential to have a good quality knowledge base that is prepared for new knowledge. The knowledge base needs to be ready to make sure that support staff can A, actually document their answers, and B, find existing answers inputted by other colleagues. With this in mind, a truly successful shift left will really involve embedding knowledge management into the day-to-day support processes. Do you currently rely on a knowledge manager, or is this more that your knowledge base is a bit of a free-for-all? It's important to highlight that each company will benefit from different levels of autonomy around knowledge management. Some companies may want a knowledge manager to oversee this process, whereas others can be fully functional by having a self-maintaining knowledge base which is created in a more organic way, such as shift left once that process is up and running. As long as one of these works for you, or perhaps another suggestion, then that's absolutely fine. And if you are doing it a different way, please feel free to let us know, because it's really interesting to see what other people are doing and how it's working for them. To really get knowledge embedded into the process of shift left, we suggest applying the flow that you can see on the screen. For example, if a call comes in, the support team can search the knowledge base, see whether there's an existing call in place. If there is, and it's correct, then that's absolutely great, and they can use this item and close the call. Similarly, if there's a knowledge article in place but it's not quite adequate enough, maybe it's out of date or there's extra information that could help to make it easier for the resolution to come to hand, then the article should be updated and saved before being used to close the call. And finally, if the support team find there's no answer there, once it's been solved in whichever way that might occur, the call should be closed and a knowledge item should be immediately created to add this to the knowledge base. Hopefully you can see that by following this process, if it was followed every time, then regardless of whether you do want a knowledge manager to oversee the process, it should start to become a self-monitoring, consistent process which provides up-to-date resolutions for as many calls as possible. Of course, it's great just talking about the ideas, but we thought it might be more useful for you to show them in the tool and how TOPdesk is making it easier with some of the latest releases. So Sam's just going to give you a walk through TOPdesk and how this is happening now.
Yep, so I'm just going to come out of the PowerPoint just for a second, and I'm going to take us into a very familiar page for a lot of you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as an operator today. So I'm logging in as Dawn Meadows, who a lot of you may be familiar with if you've watched webinars in the past. So she's a bit of a super user and she sees a lot. She has permissions to play around with everything in TOPdesk. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head to the settings page of TOPdesk just to show you a feature that we've released recently that will help you in order to start the shift left journey. Now this feature is called Labs, and just to explain, if you are using TOPdesk software as a service and you are running version 7.03.020 and above, then you will be able to find this feature. Now, if you are running our on-premise version or a later version, then do not panic because this will be released to you soon. It's just being trialed out with continuous deployment at the moment. So what are labs? Well, labs actually let you try out future features of TOPdesk and give us product feedback on how we're getting on with them. So you get to influence how we develop these little features and tell us what you like about them, what you don't like, and we really do want to hear from you, which is why we've given you the option to do so from directly within TOPdesk. So you don't have to worry about activating or deactivating these. You can do that directly from within TOPdesk, and you won't need to reactivate or restart your TOPdesk application server in order to turn these features on and off. But what are these features that we have in Labs right now? Well, the first of these is suggestions in calls. So this is a knowledge item pop-up that we've developed. So if you're in a new call card, then you can actually search for relevant knowledge items now. And that is based on the keywords that you've got linked to your knowledge item and the brief description that you type in to the call. So basically it means that you can really encourage your operators or your service desk staff to use the knowledge items that you have and to update them and use them frequently. And as you'll see, you can help us to improve this feature and provide product feedback directly from within Labs. And you turn it on using this button here. So it's really easy to turn on and off. And then secondly, you can also now apply knowledge items with a standard solution linked to them. This is cool because you can now publish standard solutions to the self-service portal, and you can also use the fact that standard solutions can come with an automatic timestamp put upon a call and can automatically close a call too. So you can do that directly from a knowledge item now. And so I've got that turned on in my TOPdesk as well. So let's actually start applying these features in practice. Well, in order to do that, I'm going to go to the Knowledge Management module of TOPdesk. I've got it open here in front of me. And if I head to the Knowledge Base Explorer, then you'll see that in my knowledge base, in this demo environment, I've got some clear categories of different knowledge items, but they're all stored in really easy to find ways. So if I wanted to find a knowledge item possibly under food and drink dispensers and one I've prepared on my coffee machine tasting watery, then it was really easy to find because I know that's under office facilities. Now this is the general knowledge item page where I can edit the text that's in the knowledge item, and important to note that this is where the keywords are as well for this knowledge item. So I mentioned that based on the brief description that you type in a call, this will influence the keywords that are searched within the knowledge item pop-up to suggest those knowledge items to you. So in here, I've made sure I've got coffee machine and central facilities typed in. And also, when I head to links, you can see here, oh, I've got a coffee machine needs refilling, a standard solution linked. I'll just show you how I did that. I can easily unlink it. And then all I need to do is link a standard solution here. I'll just link one as an example. And if I save that, brilliant, I've saved that now. All right, let's jump into a new call in TOPdesk. And just going to show you how this works. So I'm going to briefly type in an end user here. He's a bit of a problem child for us. Some of you may know Mr. John Dean. He's our end user that is always calling us up with issues that he's having. So today let's pretend it's Monday morning and he needs his caffeine fix, but his coffee machine isn't working properly. Well, if I type in coffee here, then you will notice that my knowledge item pop-up has searched for all keywords linked to knowledge items that have got coffee written in them. And if I click here, then what you'll see is I've got my knowledge item, all of my overview, my images, I can put rich text in here, and I can apply that directly from this button here. But I just want to go back and show you that I've actually got a standard solution linked here. So maybe I want to have a standard solution that is directly linked to my coffee machine tasting watery. I can do that too. Also, what you will notice is that I can either apply the knowledge item itself or I can apply it with the standard solution linked. So you also have that option available to you too. And you'll see you can give feedback directly from within the pop-up as well, so making it even easier for you to let us know your thoughts as we develop this. If I just go ahead and apply this, and I save my call now, and get rid of that and come back onto the main page, you'll notice that I've resolved that issue already. And a neat little feature I also want to show you briefly is just that you can now highlight one certain action within the incident. So say you've got a long conversation thread full of things, but you just want to find out the really helpful issue that resolved the problem, then you just highlight it right there using that little flag, and then you can come back to it at a later date and find out why you'd used it. Some of you who are eagle-eyed may also notice that this button has now become active, and from here you can create a new knowledge item from this call in one button. So say you amended the knowledge item at all, say you made it better, you improved it, and you made it more concise, easier to read, then you can just edit it directly from here, and then it takes you into a new knowledge item with all of the information copied across. So we hope that that makes it easier for you to start shifting left. We think that because the solutions are right in front of you, people will be encouraged to use them. And it's really easy to update the content from within the call now to better your knowledge. But just make sure that if you need it, you have someone that checks it. All right, well, this was actually an issue that Mr. John Dean, our end user, probably could have resolved for himself. He probably could have filled up that coffee on his own. So we're going to log into the self-service portal now, and Amy's just going to take you through how in the self-service portal you might start using shift left even further.
Yeah, so we thought that whilst we were on that note, it's a good place to introduce how shift left can be taken that one step further. TOPdesk quite often refer to this as shift left left, or as Sam has started calling it when we were prepping for the webinars, shift left squared, which I quite like, which is the stage of utilizing your self-service portal alongside your shift left friendly knowledge base to provide your end users or customers with resources and knowledge to solve some of the simple issues themselves. So such as the example shown by Sam with the coffee machine. I'm sure that in your organizations you wouldn't want to have to send an engineer or a more technical member of staff to refill the coffee beans every time this happened. So what I can see here in the My Requests tile is that in the call that Sam's just done, it's going to show me the knowledge item that's been used. So I can see here that I've had a suggested resolution to my call. I've got a nice picture with some clear instructions, so I can go away and handle this myself. If this hadn't resolved my issue, I can add a reply and it can continue from there, or I can close this myself. Upon closing as well, it's really easy to give feedback, so I can say how it was handled, perhaps explain why it was handled so well. Maybe it was that the knowledge item was really easy to use, perhaps there's some improvements, and this goes directly to the operator. So the operator can from this response improve anything, or perhaps generally keep tabs on maintaining the resources that are being pushed out to the end users if you are thinking about shifting left. If you are interested in looking at shift left, we would advise this is something you bring into the organization once shift left is up and running, but there are small ways that you can encourage this from the offset. For example, it's really important to design your portal in a way that has your services published in logical groups with clear tiles that have customer-friendly terminology. This is a basic step, but it's often overlooked at how much this can encourage a user to spend that little bit longer just seeing if they can find an answer to their question without going straight to support. The TOPdesk portal has been developed to encourage users to use knowledge throughout the system. We can see this in simple ways, such as the search bar at the top, which most of you will have seen before, but just as a reminder, if I did come here wanting to resolve an issue with a printer, not only am I presented with the services that relate to the text that I've typed or previous requests, but immediately I can see that there are knowledge articles which could help me resolve this myself. As well as if I did go through to the services page, we're still pushing out knowledge to the end user through frequently asked questions. Again, I can access these easily, perhaps browse through them myself. Is this something that I can solve myself? I can also, again, directly feedback with whether it's been useful or not. So just a really quick, simple addition for your operator to be able to just keep an eye on whether the information is perhaps understandable, relevant, and with the topic of being relevant, it's important, again, with Sam mentioning about the keywords in the back end. Are you putting keywords in that will bring up the relevant content to your end users when they search through the system? You really need to make sure that it's going to be the right content being put out, or shift left could become a bit complicated. This is just a quick introduction to shift left or shift left squared, as I said Sam's calling it now, but I think it's a great next step to consider where you can move if you are comfortable with how shift left and knowledge management is going in the organisation. With that said, I think it's important that we leave you with some thoughts and considerations for you to bear in mind when you're thinking whether you are ready to shift left. Firstly, it's important to consider with your current setup that are your permissions and filters set up correctly. Other tools will presumably work in similar ways with regards to access to certain knowledge articles. So as an example, Sam was talking you through linking a knowledge item to a standard solution. In TOPdesk, to ensure a smooth transition between users so that the information shared can be seen at each step down the line, you may need to review both the knowledge base and standard solution read writes, as well as having a check of how the branch, category and operator filtering is set up. This initially seems like a lot, but it shouldn't be too tedious to do. Apologies that we haven't been able to show you this in more detail today, but if you are struggling or want some more guidance, then please get in touch or book a TOPdesk session and we can take you through this with a bit more support. And then just a general word of warning. As with other processes introduced to an organisation, you will have to invest the initial amount of time to start it off and ensure that it's a success. Alongside this, you may experience an increase in the number of incidents as people are getting to grips with the change, but overall these are really small hurdles and are well worth the inconvenience for the benefits that have been experienced through shifting left.
Yep, and I'm going to take you through a couple of handy tips now as to what you can do to improve your shift left. And the first of these is identify what can actually be shifted within your organisation. So think about you and your business and how it works, and listen to your service desk team and the IT management teams and get their feedback as to where they think this will benefit them the most. So get them to identify any repeat issues or things that take them way too much time to do, and think, would a knowledge item help resolve these issues? And then dedicate some time to creating knowledge items or other content that will then save you effort and time in the long run. So something that may have taken an hour beforehand might now be able to be resolved in under 10 minutes. So it is worth that initial investment that you do put in. And then another tip is to work through this as a team, because you're more likely to find that shift left will be adopted if you've got everyone involved and invested in the process. So get feedback from everyone. So have your weekly evaluation sessions and get updates from people whenever you can. And if you're actually unsure about how well the adoption will go, then we could suggest that you do a pilot of shift left, just involving a selection of maybe your first to second and third line operators, and then get their feedback before moving on to the rest of the service desk. And it could also be a good idea to get those pilot people trained up to then coach the other users when the full-blown adoption takes place. Because we feel that this will ensure that there'll be a better uptake across your organisation, because staff will feel like there's a better feedback mechanism in place and you've really thought about how you're going to roll this process out. Thirdly, you want to adapt the language of your content to your audience. So there isn't much point shifting left if they don't understand it. So do use your pictures, do use your rich text, use them to your advantage. Finally, never stop, because shift left is a continuous process. You can never stop going left. You'll need your ambassador to keep drumming up the enthusiasm for it, and then be proactive in ensuring that people do update their content. All right, so that's everything we wanted to cover today. Thank you very much for listening, and apologies again for our audio issues yesterday. But we hope that you've enjoyed this insight into helping you start shifting left. So we covered how you can shift left, what the benefits are, what it is, and then some features in TOPdesk that will help make shift left easier. Yeah, please do email us with any questions that you have. Our email addresses are just on the screen there. And if you would like to set up a call with one of us or any of our consultants or book a Dr. TOPdesk session, then do just get in touch. We're going to stick around now to answer questions that were answered earlier on in the initial record. So Amy, if you wouldn't mind reading out the first of those for us.
Yeah, so we did get a few questions in yesterday initially. The first one that we're going to look at is it essential to have a knowledge manager in place?
So for us, we think that that probably depends on the size of your organisation. So if you're a large organisation, then you probably will have a knowledge manager because you'll have a lot of content in place in your knowledge base. However, if you are smaller, then you might find that it's worthwhile just getting people to check their own content and to be proactive in making sure that they do that. So really do think about your organisation and it's specific to you, so you can choose. We have also had another question that was, can there be a way to report on whether a knowledge base has been used on an incident?
Yes, so if you were wanting to see how many instances have been closed in TOPdesk with knowledge, what we can do is create a selection where you can see all of the instances that have been closed with a standard solution, which is really handy when Sam was showing you how we can link standard solutions and knowledge together now. It's a report that's going to cover more bases than it was. If you aren't that familiar with creating selections for your reports in TOPdesk yet, and you do want a little bit more help, either get in touch, or in our previous reporting webinar, Hannah did spend some time going through the steps to create a selection, so there's a recording available for that as well. And the final question we had in yesterday was, how do we ensure this process is managed every time?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Well, one thing that you could do is make sure that before you do start shifting left, you do carry out that pilot that we mentioned. So, just get a few people from each of your teams to try it out and see what they think of the process and just find out if that does work for you. And if it does, then, you can really push out shift left across the entirety of the teams. But do try it out before you do commit, just because it may not work for you or it may not be the right time for you. And then have those people from that pilot, like we mentioned, be the ones that roll it out. So then you'll have not only just your ambassador who will be drumming up the support, you'll then have people from the pilot too.
Like a nice support network.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, okay, well that was the questions that we had, but if you do have any more, please do email us. We will wrap things up now, but we look forward to hearing from you with any feedback, and sorry about those audio and technology issues. We do hope it will not happen next time, and we've taken steps to ensuring that it will not. Thanks again.
Thank you.